he said though, he was like, man, thank you for this. He's like, I'm in survival mode every single day. And I think now speaking it puts everything into perspective, right? Like he's like, I can't show vulnerability in the streets. I'm living in the subways. Like I have to be like pensive and like no bullshit allowed type personality. And he's like, he would come over, yo, and just sit there, man, for hours and just kick back and just vibe to me. And he'd jump in sometimes and just sing. But he's like, yo, I listen for your guitar. And then I don't know where he was living before, but he moved into that station at like way down at the end. He's like, yeah, man, I live down there. So he could be there when I came. I was at Metropolitan. This is when it manifested, but I had seen this guy probably at Hoyt Skimmerhorn on the G line. One that I was out performing, and I'd seen this homeless guy like 3 or 4 times. He would always, I didn't realize how he knew I was there until he said it one day. But he would always get off the train while I was performing. I was like, yo, this guy has good timing. I took a mental note of it. I saw him and I was like, oh, I've seen him before. Okay. Never said a word. This particular time, he was coming across the platform and he stopped at the bottom of the staircase and he sat down. He was just listening to me. Simultaneously, this guy had walked up, and I know he meant, well, I don't say I know. I don't think he meant anything ill by his question, but he said to me, yo, why are you here? Like, you should be touring the world, yo. I said, well, I am going to be. I said, but that's when I've gotten to that point. But where I am now are the seeds that'll get me there. And then this homeless guy said, yo, don't ask him that question. He said, because he needs to be here. Like, nobody thinks about us. You know, we're in the middle of a pandemic and the city forgot about us. Everything's shut down and we just have to make it out. And this guy, a professional musician who's great at what he does, comes out and shares his gifts with us, man. Like he said, because he's supposed to be. And it didn't create any conflict between the two. The other guy was like, yo, I didn't think about it like that. So that was the first time I heard dude speak. A couple of weeks later, I'm at Metropolitan, but somebody else was on the platform where you saw me. I was up like closer toward the Lorma side, and I was performing. He's like, yo, man. Now he's speaking to me. Yo, man, why you over here, man? You need to be down there, man. And he's like, man, I love when you play that song. Man, I love that song, man. I'm like, thanks, man. What's your name? He's like, I love that song. I love when you play that song. I said, what's your name? I love that song. I love you. I was like, okay, I guess dude want to talk. Yeah. So next time, it's like 3 weeks later, playing the same song. This time, he's coming in the other direction. And I didn't remember that I had recalled a couple weeks later that I always see him when I'm playing. So this time, he gets off on the opposite side. And I'm playing this song, So in Love. Something in the Air. And he started singing. I'm like, whoa. I said, yo, come here, man, come here. So he's on the other side going toward like Far Rockaway. So he comes across the platform and I'm like, I'm still singing like, man, talk to him. So he starts singing, man, this guy's voice is incredible. Like this shit was crazy. Somebody actually videoed it. I didn't know that till like a week later, by the way. Somebody videoed it and the shit went viral. Like over 1 million hits on TikTok.
That's Jayson Corwise.
Yeah,
I saw this on your Instagram. Yeah, that was an unbelievable moment.
So it wasn't until a week later that I saw this. So that shit had already happened. That was already. And can I say shit?
Yeah, whatever you want. Yeah, shit, fuck, pussy, queen.
So that had already happened. So like right after that, I'm like, yo, man, your voice is incredible. I said, what's your name? He's like, I'm Jayson, man. Like, man, pleasure to meet you, Jayson. I said, did you eat today? He's like, nah, man. I said, hey, here you go. I said, and he's like, thank you, man. He's like, you don't have to do that. Thank you. And then like after the train passed, like so many people started giving him money. He's like, no, this is for him. I said, nah, man. I said, give it to him. So he was like, man, thank you so much. And he was like, man, I love that song. Every time he said, I know when it's you because I hear your guitar. So that was the answer to the question I had weeks ago. I'm like, how the fuck this dude know I'm mad? So he's like, I know it's you when I hear your guitar, man. He's like, and today I just felt something in my spirit, man. I hope I didn't impede on what you're doing. I'm like, no, man. Thank you, man. Like, yo, thank you for being here. I say, because what people needed to see is that there's so much more to you. Like, there's a reason you and I cross paths. And I said, I'm gonna tell you something, man. I said, nobody crosses my threshold, but something about you. I said, now granted, I've seen you before, but I don't know you. But I gave him the space to come near my space. And I'm like, yo, it was clearly bigger than me. And I trusted the process. So it wasn't until a week later that I saw the video and it was like 100,000 every day. Bam, bam, bam. Like the number was going crazy. And certain artists started reaching out like, yo, I want to collaborate with you on this song. And I thought to myself, my manager and I were like, yo, we could help him some kind of way. We don't know what he's crippled with, but we could help him. So I bought him a phone actually, so I could stay in contact with him. And then we started getting messages from people who said that they were his family. And they were like, oh, we hadn't spoken to my uncle or my dad in like 10 years. And the next day I spoke to him, I said, yo, these particular people reached out, do you know them? Like, yeah, that's my niece and my daughter. How do you know them? I'm like, I don't. They just reached out to me. And they gave me the number. He had a phone, so he called them. No, before I got on the phone, I let him use my phone because the next time I saw him, I had the message for him. And then he called him on my phone. He was talking to him. And he was crying. You know, like, we haven't seen you so long. We thought you were dead. And I was like, yo, it's crazy. And I was like, wow. So I'm like, okay, I have to get him a phone. So then, you know, we got him a phone so he could speak to his family, and, you know, got him cleaned up, and, well, to the best we could. And then, like, the third or fourth time I saw him, he did begin to tell me the things he was ill with. And out of respect for his family, I won't go into detail, but it was a crutch that had him for like 20 years, something that he couldn't break. And he was like, man, yo, Greg, he's like, man, people treat me like I'm nothing. He's like, now let's not get that confused, verbatim. They don't treat me like I'm nothing. They think they are. He said, because I can handle myself. He said, if I need you, I can stand right up and handle. I'm like, all right, all right. He's like, yeah, but man, they just walked past me. And he's like, I feel human, man. I'm like, because you are. At the end of the day, despite your circumstances, despite what you've done, you are human. And I say, who am I to say that I haven't done things that may have been more harmful than you did? I'm human just like you, man. So in this moment, this human moment, that this bigger entity allows us to be in the same space, like, you know, welcome. So then I talked it over with my team, and I was like, yo, I think that we need to record that song. We had a whole different game plan for what the first single would be after the pandemic. This song I was just like performing, like figuring out where I want to go with it. So like, you know what, let's invite him on this song. So I invited him to the studio, and he came out, and he was like, yo, thank you so much for this. I appreciate you. I've always wanted to sing. He was like 62, had never been in the studio, had a great voice though. But he's, you know, very great percussionist. I played with some great different musicians over the years, and he was kind of telling us his story. And I was like, yo, let's record this song. So we recorded it. We put the song out, and the plan was a portion of the proceeds would go to helping him to find stability. We had looked into different drug treatment programs to get him help, and we had begun to call different people and facilitate this. And I had heard just some weeks ago that he had been found dead on the subway platform. And it was like this 3-month cycle that changed like my life too, man. Like the thing that was meaningful was my sons witnessed it, right? Like they were like, Pops, what are you doing? Like, this guy's homeless. I'm like, yeah, but he's human. And he has a story to tell. And until he shows me that he shouldn't be cared for in that capacity to the most of my ability, then I'll continue to do my part. And every day I would see him, man, I'd give him money. And, you know, I was letting him know that we were preparing for a show at Times Square. And I was like, man, you know, we would love for you to be there. We want to, you know, get you cleaned up. And I think that was a bit too much for him. He just wasn't ready for that part. But, you know, we were very welcoming, you know, and helping him to get the things he needed to begin to evolve his life. And I think the bigger thing was trusting the moment, right? Trusting the moment in a very unconventional way. Trusting the moment, looking for nothing in return, and then more than you could have ever imagined comes back. And just never forgetting to treat people like decent human beings. You know, like for me, if we want to talk about it from a like monetary level or like a algorithm level, like my engagement went through the roof. It went from like, you know, like maybe 10,000 followers to like almost 100,000, you know, between like social media and like all social media platforms. Viewership went into the millions. And a day ago, most people didn't even recognize this guy. And because he decided to share his gift, he will now have a legacy that will live on forever. We ended up recording a song and releasing a song. And now that he's no longer here, I had the opportunity to go to his service and meet his family. And I let them know that the proceeds from this song, as they continue to accumulate, you know, will pass on to them, you know. And that was a moment that was out of our control, but it wasn't even a plan. It was bigger than we could have ever imagined. And he brought something joy to my life, and I hope I brought joy to his life, you know.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
So I heard this song on your Spotify page before I saw the clip of Jayson Corwise, because I saw Something in the Air, and I saw his name in the credits. And then later when I started doing some research for the podcast and I went to your Instagram, YouTube page, I saw that clip with Jayson, where if people want to see it on your page, and they absolutely should, go to Greg Banks on Instagram or YouTube. You can also type in Jayson Corwise, and I'm sure it'll come up on one of those platforms.
That's incredible to even know that.
Yeah, and to see you playing, and then whoever was filming it on the subway panning to him, and he didn't actually have a physical microphone on him, but his voice was so full and loud, it was filling up the station, that it didn't feel like, oh, like I can't hear it, like can someone give this guy a microphone. It was filling up the sound, and it was, his energy was just, you know, absolutely losing himself in that moment. And, you know, speaking of needing something, it seemed like he was looking for that, or he, you know, I don't want to say he needed that because I didn't know him, but like whatever reason, his soul was drawn to that moment, and he had to let it out, and he did. And that, you know, 2-minute 30-second video was just, it was incredible to watch, and the connection you guys had, it would have, I would have guessed that you were performing together for a long time, and to hear the song first, it was almost like a blessing in disguise to hear the song first and then go to the clip, because it was like seeing the final product and then not even realizing that there was a story to lead up to that moment, and then going to your page and then seeing that clip, I was like, oh fuck, like this is where that idea was born, to bring him onto the track. That was crazy.
Yeah, it was
hoping to one day play for a million fans. Imagine from the stage, 2 million and the weeping when I'm in the stands. Oh my baby, but this doesn't make me nervous. Still the thought of you still makes my knees go again. So weak, my baby, you're gentle as a whisper. Oh, you're soft and warm, just like a summer breeze. Summer breeze, baby. Something in the air, and I can't explain it. There's something in the air. Talk to him. Oh, yeah. I get so weak in the knees and I can't speak, girl. I wanna hold you at night, girl. I wanna be your man. I wanna hold you so tight, girl. Yeah.
He said, though, he was like, man, thank you for this. He's like, I'm in survival mode every single day. And I think now speaking it puts everything into perspective, right? Like, he's like, I can't show vulnerability in the streets. I'm living in the subways. Like, I have to be like pensive and like no bullshit allowed type personality. And he's like, he would come over, and just sit there, man, for hours and just kick back and just vibe to me. And he'd jump in sometimes and just sing. But he's like, yo, I listen for your guitar. And then I don't know where he was living before, but he moved into that station. At like way down at the end. He's like, yeah, man, I live down there. So he could be there when I came. He would tell me that he would run the other guys away.
Yeah.
He's like, man, it's not Banks. Yo, he's coming back. Well, yo, what Banks? Man, get out of here, man. Banks coming
Yeah.
at us.
Just talking shit like this is Banks territory. Get the fuck out of here, bro.
Yeah, he's like that, man. It's
Your,
funny
your,
dude, man.
your guitar ain't shit, dude. Get the hell out of this spot. But that goes to what we were talking about in the beginning of the podcast with the voice of your guitar. Even though it's not your, quote unquote voice, if he's able to be sleeping on the other side of the subway and his ears perk up when the guitar goes through the air and he knows that's Greg Banks strings.
That's right, man.
There has
It's
to be that innate special musicality to the way that you play it that is like a snowflake signature to a voice. Like it can't be anyone else.
Wow. I never thought about it like that, man. I'm so overjoyed because just a couple years ago I couldn't even play it, man. So every day, the reason I'm okay with, going out and busking, one, because I know that it's getting me closer, like physically closer to cultivating the massive harvest that I've always wanted. Like I'm sowing seeds every single day. And I look at it like this. I sow the seed and I'm not going back to dig it up and see if it's growing. I go in and I make sure it's watered and I speak to it kindly and then I pray over its well-being and flourishing by actively doing it every day, right? And I do it in a way that is unmistakably like good and not to toot my own horn, but like I did the work. So let me say it like this. Let's bypass all that. If you come up to me, you don't have to ask me what kind of artist I am anymore. You know it already. Just look it up. You'll see it. And I don't have to sell you on my artistry. It's obvious. And it can only be obvious because I did the work. The explanation is in the work. The proof is in the pudding, like they say, So it's because of these countless hours of commitment that I can say, you tell me what you think. I'm not going to explain it to you. You listen, and to be able to speak to the instrument like that. And I feel like I have so far to go. I listen to guys like Stevie Ray Vaughan and B.B. King and Hendrix and Curtis Mayfield and George Benson, and just name a few, Son House. And I'm like, Kingfish. And I'm like, these guys are nasty. Like they could tell you a whole story with their guitar and never have to sing a word. I feel like I have so much further to go, And for people, even like yourself, to appreciate that, it's an honor, I think maybe it's just like underplaying myself, maybe. Like, it's like keep striving continuously and not thinking about where you're at in the moment,
Yeah. Yeah, it's that balance, trying to visualize something and then being present at the same time.
Right. Yeah.
Speaking of the work, I'm gonna let my bladder work for a little bit and take a piss, but I'll be right back. I'm gonna take a little break.
Sure.
And we'll close it out.
No doubt.
Well, rest in peace to Jayson Corwise.
Yeah.
That's a beautiful moment in time, and so
rest in peace, Jayson.
Rest in peace, Jayson.